Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. In today's video we are going to be talking about how to club succulents together, or let's say that if you want to make an arrangement, what are the things that you need to keep in mind. So we're going to divide this into two parts, primary and secondary. So the primary thing that you need to understand is whenever you're making an arrangement, the primary thing is soil, watering and light. Now soil can be easily taken care because we use the same soil for all our plants. For all our succulents we tend to use the same soil, which is loose, porous and well draining. So the two most important part is the watering and the amount of light, because this is where there is a difference when it comes to succulents. Some succulents prefer more watering, or I would say more frequent watering, whereas some succulents prefer little less watering or can handle slight underwatering as well. Now if you're going to mix both of those succulents together, then one of the succulent is either going to get overwatered or one of the succulent is either going to get underwatered. So in that way you have to arrange your arrangements in such a way wherein you have the succulents of the same watering needs. Secondly, the light. Again, a lot of succulents have very different preference towards sunlight. Some prefer indirect bright light, whereas some prefer direct morning sunlight. For example, Haworthias, it is better not to add Haworthias along with Echuarias, because Haworthias prefer indirect bright light, whereas Echuarias prefer morning direct sunlight. So this is where the major difference comes in. So you have to segregate your succulents based on the watering and the amount of light requirements. Now that's the reason why always make an arrangement keeping in mind that the succulents have the same requirements when it comes to watering and the amount of light. This is the primary thing that you have to keep in mind. Secondary, when we're talking about secondary, it's basically wherein the succulents are either dormant or are in their growing period. So you can segregate your succulents according to the growing period and according to the dormancy period. Now this is only for people who tend to use fertilizers, because if you're going to have an arrangement wherein you have two different types of succulents, let's say that you have a Ceraria and you have an Echuaria together. Echuaria is a winter dormant, whereas Ceraria is winter grower. Now if you're going to use fertilizers, then your Echuarias are going to have issues because they are winter dormant. Simultaneously, during summers, Ceraria is going to go in dormant and Echuaria is going to get into the growing period. Again, if you're going to add fertilizers or nutrients to the soil, the Ceraria might not be able to handle the nutrients. So in that way you have to segregate. This is only for people who tend to use fertilizers. Now I personally do not use fertilizers. For me, adding dormant succulents with growing succulents is not major issue. But you can often go with succulents of the same variety. Like you can see over here, all of the succulents are of the same genus, of the same variety. Again, over here I have Agoides. Here I have my Echuaria elegans, Mexican snowballs. So all of them are together. Now over here I have some cuttings. Now all of these have very thin leaves, so I've put them together. They are slightly dehydrated because they have not rooted yet. Once they root, I will start watering. And then over here I have the chubby ones. So all the chubby ones are together. These are moonstones, Pachophytum moonstones. I have another Pachophytum variety. Here I have a Graptoveria variety. Now the reason I have put them together because they have really chubby leaves. So even if I underwater, there is not going to be much issue. But in case if I had added a thin leaved succulent in this, which is not chubby, then that succulent would have got dehydrated, whereas these guys would have been very happy. So that is the reason why I have segregated this bowl with only chubby leafed succulents. And over here I have only thin leaved. So you can see I have segregated the fatter or the chubby leaves in one pot and the thin leaved succulents in one pot. So the same thing goes with thin leaved succulents. As you can see, these are all very chubby leaves, and these are some Echuaria shavianas, and you can see they have very thin leaves. Now definitely I cannot make an arrangement along with this, because if I'm going to overwater them, the frills will be happy because they cannot store a lot of water. but the chubby ones can store a lot of water. So if I'm going to water it more frequently, the moonstones, the Graptoverias and the Pachophytums will have issue. They might rot, whereas the frills will enjoy it. But if I'm going to underwater it, or if I'm going to water, the frequency of watering is going to be less, the chubby ones are going to be happy because they can store more water, whereas my frills will not be able to store much water. So either these will start getting dehydrated or will have dry rot, whereas my Pachophytums will enjoy the less watering. So this is something that you need to keep in mind when you're making an arrangement. Definitely if I'm going to add frills, let's say that if I'm going to add a frill somewhere over here, and I'm going to add a frill over here, this is just an example I'm showing you. Definitely it's going to look very pretty, it's going to look amazing. I mean, you can see the variations, it looks so beautiful. But obviously that is not going to work out long term. Either the frills are going to have issues or the Pachophytums are going to have issues. So that's the reason why never add a thin leaved succulent along with your chubby succulents, or vice versa. So in this way you can segregate your succulents. Now, as I said, I do not have issues with dormancy and non-dormancy because I do not add any fertilizers. So that's why for me it is much easy. I do not have to go into the secondary version. I'm just okay with the first primary version, which is light and watering. So I segregate my like these collections according to the watering and the light conditions. Now, for example, in this, I cannot add a Haworthia because all of these require a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. Hence, I cannot add a Haworthia in this. Same thing goes over here. I cannot add a Haworthia in this because these also tend to receive morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. If I'm going to expose the entire bowl for 5 to 6 hours of morning direct sunlight, all of these succulents will do well, but Haworthias are going to struggle. They will start getting burnt. Over here, as you can see, this is just a Aguides bowl that I have. Again, if I want, I can add some more Aguides in this. The leaves are much more thin. Now over here, I cannot add Haworthia in this because I cannot keep this in indirect bright light because these are Aguides. They prefer a good amount of morning direct sunlight and indirect afternoon sunlight as well. So if I'm going to keep this bowl in indirect bright light, the Haworthia will thrive, but the Aguides are going to have problem. And over here I have another one. This was a papercrete pot that I had made. It was actually a wooden basket, but I added some papercrete on it. Now in this I have majority all of my Echeverrias growing. So either you can go with one genus or you can mix two different genus, depending whichever looks beautiful, because at times we want to make our arrangement look very colorful. Over here, as you can see, I just have one variety, so it doesn't look that colorful. But if you want to add different types of colors, then you have to ensure that the watering and the sunlight requirements is the same. So guys, that's all about this video. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep propagating.